CTV News at 5 with Hudson Mack.
It was an icy commute on southern Vancouver Island this morning with a few minor fender benders, but that was nothing like what happened on the lower mainland on what seems to be a bridge with a curse. RCMP say at least 40 vehicles were damaged on the Port Mann Bridge this morning when thick fog and ice caused commuter chaos. The bridge's operators are apologizing, saying the span was not properly de-iced overnight. Several cars had to be towed, others suffered only minor damage. RCMP say drivers were likely not expecting such a slippery commute.
I think it was a combination of icy road surface that surprised a lot of drivers, combined with poor visibility in the amount and level of fog that was in and around that bridge.
In December, the new bridge was closed for several hours and 2 people were injured after ice bombs fell from the bridge cables and crashed through windshields. Hundreds of vehicles were damaged and the company that manages the bridge offered to cover insurance claims for those affected. A train derailment is blocking one lane of the Sea to Sky Highway between Whistler and Pemberton. RCMP say the rail cars were empty when they went off the tracks. A vehicle on the road was slightly damaged, but there are no reports of injuries. Witnesses say the driver of a vehicle barely escaped being crushed as one rail car flipped off the overpass. The person was able to back up just as it fell. The cause of the derailment is not immediately known. Police say the highway will remain open to single-lane alternating traffic until at least tomorrow morning, when the rail cars can be removed. Langford firefighters rushed to a crash on Souk Road last night and found a car upside down in the ditch. A woman in her 70s was trapped inside and the vehicle was filling up with water. Police say the woman was alone in the car traveling east on Souk Road. At about 6 o'clock last night, the vehicle left the road near Humpback Road and overturned in a water-filled embankment. Firefighters knew they had to work quickly. The woman was shivering in a pool of frigid water and there was no way out of the car.
Fortunately, the water wasn't so deep that the patient was under the water, but still pretty cold. She was on her hands and knees. All four doors of the vehicle were pinned shut. And so we had to use the jaws of life to be able to open up the door to be able to get the patient out.
Firefighters say it was difficult to get into the vehicle because the car was resting up against the embankment. It took the crew about 30 minutes working in the water to complete the rescue. The woman was released from hospital a few hours later. The cause of the crash is under investigation. A construction worker was lucky to escape any major injuries this morning after he fell down a 2.5-meter drop. Shortly after 9 a.m., emergency responders were called to a construction site on Carey Road in Saanich. A 27-year-old man fell down what was possibly an elevator shaft being built, and co-workers and emergency responders had to lift him out by crane. The man told emergency crews he thinks a support bar may have given way.
He was conscious and breathing upon arrival. Nobody actually saw the accident as where just his location was. However, he was lifted out by a crane just due to the location of where he actually fell. He's being transported to Victoria Hospital just for observation.
The site was cold, wet and slippery this morning when the accident happened, and despite the long fall, emergency responders do not believe the man suffered any major injuries. 5 men accused of raping and assaulting a university student on a bus in India's capital have been charged with rape and murder. The 5 men could face the death penalty. A 6th suspect has been charged as a juvenile. The 23-year-old woman died of severe internal injuries over the weekend. The trial is expected to be held in a new fast-track court set up specifically to deal with crimes against women. India's Bar Association says its lawyers would not defend the suspects because of the nature of the crime, but the court is expected to appoint attorneys to defend them. The rape and death of the 23-year-old has sparked outrage and a nationwide demand for women's rights. A woman is raped or assaulted in India every 30 minutes. A pair of U.S. drone strikes has killed 13 people along Pakistan's border with Afghanistan. Among them was a prominent Pakistani militant commander. Pakistan's military says the death could become a contentious issue between the U.S. and Pakistan. Officials say they had a truce with the militant commander. The U.S. says the leader was targeted because he launched attacks against its forces in Afghanistan. 3 men started 2013 with a chili challenge in China. The event is called Frozen for 24 hours. Contestants have to stay 1 day in cramped ice rooms that are kept at -5 degrees Celsius. They aren't allowed to eat, drink, or sleep. 4 men started the competition, but 1 dropped out after 14 hours. The 3 who completed the task were given some warm clothing, then taken to hospital as a precaution. There is no prize, just bragging rights. A familiar voice on our partner radio station, CFAX 1070, spoke openly about his health this morning in hopes of raising awareness about how valuable the early detection of cancer can be. Steve Duffy was recently diagnosed with bladder cancer. He went on air this morning to speak candidly about finding out what led to the diagnosis and what his next steps are for treatment. Doctors say his prognosis for recovery is good, but Duffy says hearing the news came as a shock.
Well, I was in a bit of stunned shock, of course. When you hear the C word, cancer, you think of all the negatives, but the advances that have been made over the years in treating various forms of cancer, well, they've come miles, light years, and my treatment, I consider it to be fairly, I guess, routine, if there is such a thing.
Steve says he feels fortunate that he has a treatable and surface-oriented cancer, and he hopes his experience will encourage other people to get checked out. We wish Steve all the best in his upcoming treatments. A new strain of the highly contagious Norovirus is hitting BC. The province is dealing with the highest rates of infection since 2006. 2 floors at New Westminster's Royal Columbian Hospital were quarantined after 12 patients and 6 staff members fell ill. A ward at Vancouver General Hospital has also been shut down. Seniors' care facilities in Nanaimo and Parksville have also been hit. A new strain of norovirus typically appears every 3 to 4 years. Currently, there is no vaccine or treatment for norovirus infection. RCMP officers in Nanaimo are being hailed heroes for saving a woman's life after she plunged into frigid cold waters on New Year's Day. Police received a call around 7:30 Tuesday morning after a man saw a woman run through his yard on White Street and in and out of traffic on Bowen Road. RCMP went searching and found her in the middle of the Millstone River. She was freezing and distraught and refused when officers tried to help her out of the water. Constable Martin Cortas is one of the 2 officers who jumped into the river and pulled the woman to safety.
You could see that she was hypothermic and she was really starting to fall asleep in the water. At that point, it didn't appear that she was able to make it under her own steam up to the shoreline itself, so Corporal Nielsen and myself, we took off our police equipment and waded into the water, and we assisted her the last 8 or 10 feet onto the shoreline, and she went to the hospital by ambulance.
Police say the woman was in the freezing river for up to 20 minutes. Once the officers managed to pull her to the shore, she was taken to Nanaimo Regional General Hospital suffering from hypothermia. She was later admitted for observation under the Mental Health Act.